بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. We said usually the jurist, the faqih, when he's trying to establish a fatwa, his opinion, definitely he uses what? To support his opinion and his argument? Evidence. Evidence is called dalil. Dalil is evidence. Now where does he find the evidence? He finds the evidence either in the Quran, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا O you who, in Surah Al-Baqarah, O who you believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you. Prescribed, kutiba. So they use this term kutiba, prescribed, as being mandatory. It becomes wajib, mandatory. Not just, optional, you want to fast or you don't want to fast. Kutiba, it means it has been prescribed, ordained upon you. Ordained, they discuss the word ordain, and ordained means that you have to do that. Or if he does not find that in the Quran, he will find it where? In the hadith of the Ma'soom. Ma'soom could be the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Imams, infallible Imams. Those are the Ma'soomin. Now, if he searches for it in the Quran and the Sunnah, in the Hadith, he could not find it. He goes after that to where? What is his option?
Public opinion.
He goes to
the general principles.
Exactly, to the general principles or procedural principles. Al-usul al-amaliyah. We studied that in lesson number 7 last year. Lesson number 7. If you go to lesson number 7, it does speak about the usul al-amaliyah, procedural principles. Means in the absence of securing evidences, dalil al-muhraz or al-adilla al-muhraza, when there is no secure, and secure means powerful. Powerful. The dalil, the evidence is there. You can see it. It's very powerful. It's very meticulous. So when there is no evidence, then the second step goes for a procedure. That procedure called procedural principles. Such as what? Can you give me an example of al-asl al-amali? Some people call it practical stand. Some people call it procedural principles. Can you give me one example of them? This is one of them, yes. Yeah, we see what does the public opinion say. This is one of them. The other one, asl, we mentioned two of them. We kept speaking about them last lesson. Exactly. Exactly. Asalatul bara'a, the principle of exemption, okay, that when you can't find everything. What does asalatul bara'a means? Asalatul bara'a, that every wajib or every haram that does not have evidence, then in that case you are exempted. Because there is no evidence to say this is wajib or this is haram. There is no evidence. There is no secured evidence. Then you go to the principle of bara'at. Or sometimes ihtiyat, as we studied last week. You know there is a ruling, but you don't know which one. There is a ruling coming, but you don't know whether this or that. In this case, you cannot say bara'ah. You cannot say, no, I'm free, I have no obligation. You do have obligation, but you don't know the details of your obligation. So here you cannot apply exemption, the principle of exemption. Here you have to apply the principle of caution, احتياط. So the first area the faqih, the jurist, searches about is this one. This is number one. Securing evidence. When there are no securing evidence, he comes to the usul al-amaliyah, procedural principles. Now, sometimes you find contradiction between the evidence. Now, we can have evidence that is verbal, lafzi, verbal. And we can have evidence that is what? Rational, aqli. Verbal and rational, and we studied this last year. We studied both of them and we gave examples of them. We have evidences that are verbal, which is ayah or hadith. This is verbal. And we have an evidence that is rational. Now let me, before I go to this verbal and rational, what is the difference between this and that? Meaning, what is the difference between the dalil and the asl? Ad-dalil, the evidence, or al-asl, the principle. What is the difference between them? Both of them are used in the procedure of finding the fatwa, the answer. Both, either this or that. But what is the main difference between them?
The dalil has the specific elements.
Exactly, specific elements, and what else also? What we call it? Not just specific. It is secured. قطع. Okay? While this one, the asl is what? The asl, is it also قطع? Strong? 100% or not? Huh? It's not. It's not. It's dhan. It's based on what? Conjugar. Not ilm. See, this one, my friends, this one is based on what? On ilm. But this one is not based on ilm. This is الدليل القطعي. الدليل القطعي. Okay? But this one is الدليل الوات. Can you tell me, help me with this? الظني, conjugar. الظني. So this is, look at the board for 1 second. This is not as powerful as this. This is not as, this is more powerful. This is more clear, more powerful, more assuring. But that one is not. That one, God says, if you can't find this one, then I will allow you to go to this one. I have to follow it. I have no choice. But that does not mean this is 100% correct. Okay? It's like I know I'm on this freeway, 5 South is taking me to San Diego. I know 100%. But then, listen to me here, then 5 South is blocked. So I take an alternative, but I don't know whether this alternative is 100% will take me to San Diego or not. I'm trying. This is the difference. This one is 100%. This one is not 100%. That's the difference between dalil and asl. We are speaking about these two types. We said dalil is when the faqih, the jurist, he supports his argument with a dalil al-muhraz, a secured evidence. Secured evidence, it means either an ayah in the Quran or the hadith, authentic hadith. Now if he could not, there is no ayah, there is no hadith, and he wants to find an answer, he goes to the asl, al-usul al-amaliyah, procedural principles, such as the principle of exemption, asl al-bara'ah, or such as the principle of caution, asl al-ihtiyat. But the difference between this and that, I am just outlining here, that the dalil is 100% qat'i. But this one is dhanni, conjugar. This one, the dalil says in case you could not find an evidence, this is an alternative. But the alternative is not a very powerful evidence. It's dhanni. It could be right, but it could be what? It could be wrong. Okay? So let's finish with this. Yes.
Is alif, sad, la?
Yes. Asl, this is. See? Asl. Asl. And the plural is usul. Usul. Asl is singular, usul is plural. Okay? Then today we come to this title, Ta'arud al-Adilla, the contradiction between the evidences. Now, we said the evidence could be verbal and it could be rational. And I'll give you the example of the both, the verbal and the rational. Sometimes we come across two types of evidences. Both of them are verbal. See, my friends, both are verbal, both. But they contradict each other. Sometimes the evidence, one of them is verbal, the second is rational, and they contradict. And sometimes the two evidences are what? Are rational, but they contradict each other. We will come to the first scenario, where both evidences are verbal, and they contradict each other. So which one we follow? And both of them are authentic. This is the problem. If one of them is not authentic, we say, well, it's very clear, I don't even look at it. But when both are authentic and they contradict each other, you are in a dilemma here. The example of that is during fasting, the month of Ramadan. One evidence tells me, one hadith tells me, that يجوز للصائم أن يرتمس في الماء حال صومه. It is permissible for a fasting person to submerge his head under water while he's fasting. But then there is another hadith that says لا ترتمس في الماء وأنت صائم. Speaking to someone, do not submerge your head under water while you are fasting. So which one is right? What shall I do here? Which one should I take and follow? And this is exactly what many jurists now, they differ in their fatwa. When they speak about the forbidden things in Ramadan while you are fasting, eating, drinking, having a relationship with your wife, blah, blah, blah. And then one of them, do not submerge your head. If you are swimming, don't submerge your head under water. It will void your fast. But other fuqaha, they say, no, it's not. It's okay. So, what do we do in this case? In this case, we examine the hadith and the circumstances of the hadith and the wording of the hadith. Because sometimes the hadith says, don't. But don't has two meanings. The closer meaning and the first meaning is what?
Avoid.
Avoid. Prohibition. Don't. When I tell you don't, I mean, but not always it's a prohibition. The second meaning of it what? Is what? Not recommended. Undesirable. So the first meaning of no, nahi, prohibition, the first meaning of it, when I say, don't go into this room, then what do you understand? You understand I'm serious. I'm telling you don't go. But the second meaning of it is that, no, I'm not saying you don't, but it's good if you don't go into the room, which is karaha, undesirable, not hurma. The first meaning is hurma, prohibition, but the second meaning is karaha. But they use the same term. How do we know then this is hurma, forbidden, or this is karaha, undesirable? When we examine the hadith and we compare it with other hadith, we realize, oh, so when he told me don't, it's not haram, it's undesired. Okay? This is the example of this in the Quran. Allah said to Adam and Eve, وَلَا تَقْرَبَا هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Do not approach this tree. There's hundreds, thousands, millions of pages discussing this since, 2,000 years ago, not just now. But we in the school of Ahlul Bayt, we believe that this was undesired. Don't go. You may go, but you have to bear the consequences. God did not say that to them, listen, don't, no. He said, it's better for you not to go. Why? Because I want you to have self-control. Eat, enjoy all this, don't touch this. I want you to have self-control. But they couldn't have self-control. Okay? So it was not hurma, karaha. Karaha means undesired. So when we examine these two hadiths, the first one, it's explicit. The first one is explicit. It says, it is okay for you while you are fasting to submerge your head. So it is definite, okay? Definite and plus explicit. Okay? Explicit. So this is very clear-cut answer that you can. The second hadith, it's not explicit, no. It says, لا ترتمس. It has what? It has an apparent suggestion, an apparent meaning, but not solid meaning. We are taking the apparent meaning, ظهور. They call it ظهور. Apparent meaning is ظهور. This is explicit. This is قطعي. Okay? This is nas. It's clear cut. This is a clear cut. But ظهور means an apparent suggestion / meaning. An apparent doesn't mean 100%. It's not like that. It's not explicit answer. It's not a definite answer. No. ظهور. So it could be haram, it could be undesired. So because we know that the ma'soom, the infallible, does not contradict himself. Quran does not contradict himself. It's impossible for the Quran to tell you this thing is haram and at the same time this is halal. Or this is wajib, you must do it, or you must not do it at the same time to the same subject. Impossible. Impossible. Yes, there are instances where something is haram, but it could be halal under another circumstances. Such as what? Give me an example.
Life-threatening.
Huh?
Eating pork.
Yeah. Life-threatening. Something haram, you can't eat, but you are cut off in a mountain, in a desert, you are about to die. The only item you have is this food. You eat, you drink. But that is different circumstance. Because the Quran is saying, إِلَّا مَضْطُرِرْتُمْ إِلَيْهِ, except when there is a state of emergency, اضطرار. Iftirar in Arabic means state of emergency. Okay? But at the same time, halal and haram, no, it can't. The condition has to differ. The circumstances have to differ. So here, the first hadith is very explicit and definite. The second one, it's not as explicit as this. It has ظهور. The apparent meaning of it is hurma. But we don't take the apparent meaning. We take the second meaning, which is what? The lower degree. The what? Huh? Karaha. Okay? The first degree was what? Hurma. Prohibition. The second degree is what? Undesirability. Karaha. So we take that. So now we come to this conclusion that in the month of Ramadan, it is makruh for you to submerge your head underwater. It's not haram. It would not void your fasting. But it is makruh. It's better to avoid. It's better to avoid. Not that you must avoid. It's better to avoid. So this is the first example. Now, the author is saying that there is a general principle we learn that whenever there is an evidence that says amr, to do something, and there is another hadith which is equally authentic from the Ma'soom that says don't do, which one we take? There is a hadith that says drink this cup. Another hadith says do not drink this cup. And both are authentic. We have no problem with their authenticity and legitimacy. So which one takes precedence over the other? The term do not come to ihtiyat. Ihtiyat is the second stage. We are in this first stage. You don't go to the second. You are in front of dalil. Both of them are secured and powerful and authentic. So you don't go to the second level here. This second level, when something is missing here, you go to the second one. When these tools are missing, you go to the spare ones. This is a spare. This is secondary.
So you look at the context of the situation.
You look at the context, you examine the hadith, but they always say you take the commands which says do, amr, not the nahi. Whenever there is amr and nahi, amr, a command to do something, nahi is a command not to do, and they both are authentic, you take the first one. Why? Because the second one here, the second one, we take it as what?
Karaha.
Exactly. We take it as karaha, not as hurma, not prohibition, not being unlawful, but being desirable. Exactly. Undesirable. So keep this in mind, because in the test I'm going to ask you about this. Okay. Because they always say the evidence of permissibility to do something is what? Is explicit. Do this. Eat this. Go there. Explicit. While usually the dalil, the evidence of prohibition is not explicit. Has dhuhur, the apparent suggestion, apparent meaning. It's not as clear as this one. It's not, or I should not say as clear. It's not as powerful and categorical like this one. This is, powerful, explicit. That one is not. Okay? So we take the commands. We take not the nahi. We take the what? Amr, which is permissible. It's okay. We give you permission to do that. Now, we come to the second point. Sometimes, let me remove this, make some room. Sometimes, my friends, there is a command, amr, and there is another amr that sounds contradicting, but more restrictive. The first one is general. The second one is not so general. It's more restrictive, and it's more specific. Such as what? Such as usury is haram. Usury is what? interests. Riba is usury, and it is forbidden, haram. But then the second sentence says, usury between the father and the son is okay. Meaning, if the father wants to charge his son, it's okay. Or the other one, what is the other scenario?
Husband and
No husband and wife, no. The other one, the Muslim can charge the non-Muslim. It's okay. So this is more restrictive. So here, the second one comes between, this is the first one, the second one comes between father and son is okay. Usury between father and son is okay. More restrictive. This is called am and this is called what? Khas. This is general and this is specific. So which one we take when we have general and we have specific? Which one we take?
children.
We take the specific. In this case, we take the specific. We can't say, well, the hadith is saying riba is haram. How come the father charges his son? No, because this is specific. Okay? This is specific, so
You said in Arabic it's khas?
takhsis.
No.
No.
The specific
Yeah. Khas.
khas.
Yes. Yes. Specific is khas. Okay? So here. Now, sometimes this one, my friends, this one is defining this. Defining it. Explaining this for us. This one, the second one, is explaining the first one for us. Or defining it for us. Or, if you will, is restricting it for us. Meaning that this is not completely general. There are some conditions where this becomes halal. And this is one of them. Not just one, we have several ones. This is just one example. So this one is restricting that one. Okay? And we have the example of that in Sharia, for instance. Sometimes, but we need to have qarina. Qarina is what?
Context.
Exactly. Qarina is an indication, ishara, qarina, indication that the Sharia, there is restriction here. We cannot use the general term. In this case, we have to restrict it. So it is, we have to use the qarina, the contextual element. Qarina is contextual element. Let me write it here. Contextual element. Or indication, if you will. Indication. Qarina. Now, sometimes the qarina, which is a defining contextual element, it takes precedence over that which is defined. This is defined, and this is the defining. This is the qarina. Sometimes the qarina is attached, and sometimes it is what? It is separate, detached. Give me an example of a qarina which is attached. I'll give you an example. I say, respect every human except the criminals. respect every human except the criminals. Except the criminals is what? Qarina. That defines this one. See, this says respect every human. If I stop here and I don't mention this, this is general. But then I restrict this sentence by this sentence, by something called qarina, contextual element. Sometimes the qarina is attached, like in this sentence. It is attached to this, in the same sentence. Attached. Okay, this is the example of attached. Attached qarina, attached indication. Sometimes it is detached. Give me an example of the detached. This is attached in the same sentence. I am bringing the exception in the same sentence. I am saying except the criminals. But when it is detached, how it is detached? We studied this long time ago. The attached and the detached. How it is the detached? Very simple. Very easy. Not in the same sentence. In the same page and the same book, but somewhere else. Detached. Not in the same sentence. Maybe 2 pages after. Maybe it's a movie. In the minute 17 in the movie I say this, but minute 37 I say that. So it's not attached. It's not linked. It is disconnected. But yet I can still use it.
Would
Okay.
example be like combining the prayers? Would that be an example?
Yeah, that could be one of them. Or let me give you an example, simple example. I say respect every human, period. Then after several pages, I come and say, those who are criminals do not deserve respect. Do not respect those who are criminals. So I'm saying the same, just like this, but somewhere else, detached, not attached. Okay? Now, yes, you were saying something.
In the Quran it says halalna.
Exactly. In the Quran has many instances like this, the attached and the detached. Sometimes the detached, you find it in the same chapter but somewhere else. You can find the restriction somewhere else. Like for instance, the Quran says you can marry the people of the book. But then later on, the Quran comes and says, no, do not hold them by their arm. Don't hold those who are not Muslims, do not hold, meaning don't marry them. So this is qarina, this is contextual element. But it is detached, not in the same ayah. In another, could be another chapter, not necessarily the same chapter. Because the Quran, يُفَسِّرُ بَعْضُهُ بَعْضًا. The Quran explains itself by itself. You can find a question in this chapter and answer 20 chapters after that. Okay? Now, my friends, what time is it? Okay. Let's go for one more concept. Now, we have am and khas. Therefore, we have am and khas, and we have mutlaq and muqayyad. We have am versus what? Am means what? Am, general. Versus khas, which is specific. And we have mutlaq versus muqayyad. Muqayyad is restricted, and this is unrestricted. Mutlaq. Okay? Now, they say the difference, these are basically the same. Am and mutlaq are basically the same with one difference between them. Khas and muqayyad are basically the same. What is the difference between takhsis? And takhsis here, when you come and make the process of takhsis. Takhsis belongs to this. Meaning the am, the general, you make it specific. The takhsis is called what? The process of takhsis is called what? Qualification. Qualification. I'm going to ask you in the exam. When something is general and you specify it, this process of specifying it is called qualification. Meaning you restrict it. The example, remember example, respect everyone, every human except the thieves. So I'm restricting the first sentence. Now, what is called مخصص? The second is مقيد. Okay? مقيد is restricted, تقييد. The second here, when the n restricted, you make it restricted. So this is called what? Very easy, you can tell me. Huh? Restriction of the general. Restriction. You make restriction. Are you with me, my friends? Can you follow or not? Is it easy or too complicated? Second one? Okay. See, we have general and we have specific. You understand this. And the process of making the general specific, they call it qualification. Like the example that I gave. We respect every human being. This is general. Then I say, no, listen. The thieves do not respect them. So I am making qualification. I am making the sentence which was first general, I am making it specific. The same thing applies to this. Almost the same idea. Mutlaq is unrestricted. The sentence is أحل الله البيع. Allah made selling and trade halal. But is it every selling halal? Selling alcohol, is it halal? It's not halal. Selling stolen goods, is it halal? It's not halal. So this is muqayyad. The sentence, then we come and we say in the taqeed, we say no. Selling forbidden goods is not halal. Selling with fraud and cheating is not halal. Selling alcohol is not halal. Selling arms to kill innocent people is not. So these are restrictions. Okay? Now what is the difference between am and mutlaq? My friends, hear the trick. Because both of them are the same. They don't sound the same. Didn't they sound the same? Am is just like the mutlaq. Huh? With one difference. There is one difference between this and this. There is one difference between the general and the unrestricted. What is it? It's very small difference. Otherwise, the concept is 99% the same. But there is one difference between this and that. What is the difference? The difference is, in the am, in the sentence, we use the articles of generality. Adawatul umum. Articles of generality. Such as what? Alif lam is one of them. Or kull. Kull means what? Kull means every. See, one of them, articles, these are articles of generality. Okay? One of them is kull. Kull is what? All. All. Or every. Second is kafah. Is every. Or maybe the opposite. Maybe this one is all. Yeah, this one is every. This one is every. And this one is all. These are every and all together. Okay? These are articles of generality. We use them in this sentence. But in this sentence, we don't use this. We don't have to say kul or kaffa. The sentence is unrestricted. I love drinks. I did not say I love every drink. See? I say I love drinks. But then I say, but I don't drink wine. Yes, true, I love drinks, but I have restrictions. With this, I have to say I love every drink. And then I say except wine, except alcohol. This is the difference. Slight difference. Are you with me? Otherwise, the idea is the same. The idea is the same, but with slight differences. Okay? وصلى الله وسلم على سيدنا محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.